محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. Amma ba'd, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. All praise is due to that Lord that has given us opportunity to sit in the remembrance of Ali Muhammad, a remembrance where every moment is taken as ibadat towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, Nafasul mahmum li dhulmina at-tasbih. Says that sigh that you let out of sorrow for us is tasbih. If only a person was to understand the greatness of these gatherings. It's an honor that I've been given this opportunity to speak to you, brothers and sisters. We had planned that I myself would come to New Jersey, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had also planned, not just for us, but for the rest of the world. And so we find ourselves trying to adjust, trying to develop the Azaa of Sayyid al-Shuhada in a post-COVID or during COVID world. Nonetheless, we hope that the matalib, the topics that we're going to be presenting, they'll be of use to the brothers and sisters, and that I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me the strength to be able to convey them in a way that is understandable to those of you that are watching stateside and wherever in the world you may be watching. I do say this wherever I go for the first time, and that is that I'm not much of a storyteller. Rather, I like to focus on the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and their practical implications for our day-to-day lives in regards to the journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole purpose of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam was that they came to take us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole purpose of Imam Hussein in Karbala was to take us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His whole stance was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A byproduct of it was that he stood against the oppressor of his time. It was only because his deen, his belief in Allah told him to stand against the oppressor of his time at that time. A byproduct of it is this stance of social justice and all of these things. But the core of it is that belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that applies to all of the A'imma, all of the Imams. And tonight we remember that Imam al-Ra'uf, Imam al-Zamin, Imam al-Ridha, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. And I want to look at a hadith today, and in the coming nights we'll look at other hadith. For tonight we're going to look at something from Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam, try and draw out from it practical lessons that we can implement within our lives. And tomorrow and the subsequent days we'll look at a hadith from Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, where the Imam explains various aspects that we can then implement within our lives in the hope that we finish this journey of the dunya being from amongst those that are the winners and those that have attained the happiness, the Ridha of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this particular hadith that I want to look at today is narrated by Sheikh al-Mufid in his book Al-Ikhtisas. And it is a letter, it is a message from Imam al-Ridha towards his Shias. And there's a lot of parallels that a person can draw between the time that Imam al-Ridha lived and the issues that he faced and the time within which we live. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says to Harith Hamadani, he says to him, Harith, look towards the people of the past. Learn from them, study their lives, because history repeats itself. He himself says that I have studied the nations that have gone previously. I have studied their books. I have read about them. It is as if I'd studied them so much. It is as if I had lived amongst them and been part of their society. So we need to know that history has these revolutions. The actors change, but the themes remain the same. And so in the time of Imam al-Ridha, there are a couple of issues that the Imam is highlighting within this letter that are pertinent today as well in our society. And this message that he gives it to Abdul Azim Hassani. Those of you that have been to Iran will know that just outside of Tehran there is the ziyarat of Shah Abdul Azim Hassani. He is obviously one of the Hassani Sadat and is one of the confidants of the Imam and very beloved to the Imam. He was an individual that had huge amounts of taqwa and consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's not the reason that the Imam alayhi salam loved him, not just because he was a family member. No, I mean, there are many other family members of the A'immah that had left the path, direct sons of the Imams that have gone against the wilaya of their Imam or refused to accept the imamat of the Imams after. Now Abdul Azim Hassani was beloved to the Imam because of his taqwa. That's what made him beloved. Not that it was his cousin or a family member. Anyhow, Imam alayhi salam is addressing his Shias in this message. He says, Ya Abdul Azim, أبلغ عني أوليائي السلام. O Abdul Azim Hassani, give our salam to our friends, to our awliya, our close friends. وأبلغ عني أوليائي السلام وقل لهم أن لا يجعلوا للشيطان على أنفسهم سبيلا. The first message that the Imam gives to his Shias, gives to me and you, is, and warn them, tell them, don't give a shaitan a path towards you. Don't let him have any sort of, don't give him a path so that he may come and gain a control over you. Shaitan uses various paths. It's not always that he comes face to face towards a person and says, commit this sin. Rather, he'll do it through a bad friend. A friend that will make you listen to music. A friend that will make you delay your salah. He'll use different conduits to come your way in order to misguide a person. He may come in the form of an addiction to, the PS4. That he makes me play it so much that I delay my salah and my salah becomes qada. It may come as an addiction to TV or film or something that is distracting me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Holy Quran, he says that I'll attack them from the front and I'll attack them from behind and I'll attack from the left and the right. All four sides, he says, I will attack the son of Adam, trying to misguide him, trying to move him off Siratul Mustaqim. But an individual shouldn't despair. Because as many paths as there are for shaitan to come and misguide us, there are equally as many paths for us to reach salvation. By this I don't mean a pluralistic idea, but rather one action. Imam al-Sajjad in Dua Abu Hamza Thumali, he says, Allahumma inni ajidu subul al-matalibi ilayka mushra'a. He says, my Lord, I find the paths open towards you. Those roads of wishes are wide, they've been thrown open. There are various ways that I can reach you. There are various ways that I can do dua to you. Shaitan surrounds a person from all four sides, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that permission to go from all four sides, but said to him, you've left two sides open, the one above and the one below. Whenever my abd raises his hands towards me in dua, I will forgive him, and whenever he drops into sajda to ask me for something, I will give it to him. Shaitan may attack from all four sides, but I still have these two ways towards Allah. Those various paths towards Allah. I don't know what action of mine it will be that will cause my salvation. We have so many different examples. That one action of a human being for the sake of another person, no, not for the sake of another person, for the sake of an animal, has become the reason for their salvation, the reason for the forgiveness of their sins. The paths to Allah are open. Yes, shaitan has various paths, but Imam al-Ridha is saying, don't give him an opening. Don't give him a path. If there's a bad friend, you know that this friend will take me towards haram, make sure you keep that friend at arm's length. If you know that if I go to this gathering there will be music there, make sure I abstain from it. If I go to this particular wedding and there will be no concept of hijab and there will be many other rules of Islam being broken, at that point I need to have courage to go and walk the path of Allah and turn my back on that particular gathering. Shaitan, he sets out these various paths. Makes us feel guilty for not attending, for not going. But I've got to have that strength to hold on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing the Imam says is don't give shaitan a path. The second thing he advises Abdul Azim al-Hassani to convey to his Shia, وَمُرْهُمْ بِالصِّدْقِ فِي الْحَدِيثِ وَأَدَاءِ الْأَمَانَةِ, and command them, order them to speak the truth and fulfill their oaths, be loyal in their oaths. The hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen says, our Shias are truthful, even if that truth is detrimental to them. Amir al-Mu'mineen himself says, the truth left me with no friends. When a person is truthful, they don't lie, they don't, what is wrong, they highlight it. He says, it left me with no friends. But friends are of no use if one has lost Allah. And if one has gained Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then friends really, they won't be required. Because a person will never feel lonely when they're attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Shias always tell the truth, even if it is to their detriment. Lying is the key to many sins. The Holy Prophet says that lying is the key to all sin. If an individual can control their lying, the white lies and whatever the opposite or whatever the larger thing for a white lie or a real lie is, both have adab, both have punishment. Those lies I tell in jokes are also negative marks for me. The Shia is the one that is always truthful, doesn't lie in jokes, doesn't lie in any way, shape or form. There's so many different examples of things that we do. There's one that I go everywhere and I speak about when talking about lying. I give this example. One day there's a lady that's sitting in front of Rasulullah and her child was running around. She'd come to ask Rasulullah something. Anyhow, so she called the child. She said, come here, I've got something for you. You know, like we do with a child. We're like, come, I've got something for you. Come here. And the child comes across and we're like, nothing, I just want to hug you. So she was doing the same. So she was like, come, I've got something for you. And Rasulullah said to her, what have you got in your hand? And she says, Ya Rasulullah, I've got a date in my hand. Rasulullah says, good. Because had you not had anything in your hand, you would have committed two sins. The first was the sin of lying to the child. The second was the sin of telling the child, normalizing lying for this child. Normalizing the sin. So Imam al-Ridha is telling his Shias, so speak only the truth. And be loyal in fulfilling your oaths. When someone entrusts you with something, someone trusts me with their home or their car while they're away on holiday, I make sure that I don't abuse that trust. Someone entrusts me with money, I make sure I don't abuse that trust. Someone entrusts me with a secret, I make sure that I don't abuse that trust by going out and telling other people. It's unfortunate that one of the ways that you can be sure that something will spread like wildfire in the community is when you tell someone, say to them, look, don't tell anyone else. That is a guarantee that that is going to be spread throughout. It's an unfortunate situation that we're in. This is where we're doing khiyana within the amana that has been given to us. And what is the greatest amana that Allah gave human beings? Is the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allahi fi ardih. In ziyarat Amin Allah, we say, oh, salam be upon the amana of Allah upon the earth. That individual that is the amana, have I fulfilled the oath of wilayah? Am I like how Ali wants me to be like? Or am I that where if Amir al-Mu'mineen was to see, he would turn his face away? So we have to ask ourselves these difficult questions. So the Imam says, speak truth, fulfill your oaths. وَمُرْهُمْ بِالسُّكُوتِ, and command them towards silence. Because silence is that thing that opens the doors of hikmah, opens the doors of wisdom for an individual. Those that accustom themselves to silence don't constantly speak, but rather have periods of quiet wisdom. The doors of wisdom open for them. In another narration, the Ma'asum says that I advise you, عَلَيْكَ بِطُولِ الصَّمْتِ, I advise you to long periods of silence, for surely it pushes away the demons and is a friend to you for your religion. It allows a person to contemplate. In this society that we live in, we do not have time to sit quietly. If I am sitting quietly, I'll be using my fingers to talk. The silence here is that I am totally cut off from any form of communication. You know, nowadays we have to make this apparent. So, okay, yeah, I can sit in silence and then I sit there on my iPad or my iPhone or whatever other device that I have. No, to detach from everything and just to sit in silence, to ponder, to contemplate. It's essential in that journey towards Allah. When Imam Ali alayhi salam, he speaks about one of his companions who he refers to as his brother. He says, I, Ali, once had a brother. And then he begins to list his characteristics. It wasn't his blood brother, but he's listing the characteristics of an individual that was so beloved that Amir al-Mu'mineen called him his own brother. One of those characteristics is وَكَانَ أَكْثَرَ دَهْرِهِ صَامِتًا, says that most of the time he was silent. But when he spoke, he silenced the other speakers, and when he was questioned, he would quench the thirst of the one that was questioning him. So most of the time he was quiet, he was silent. Because through that silence, through that stillness, a person gets clarity. This isn't just things we see in martial arts movies or philosophy. No, this is there within the true teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Silence creates stillness. To be still. And when we're still, that gives us clarity. Clarity on life, clarity on our journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right now in our minds there are 1,001 thoughts that are constantly rushing around that don't let me detach. I wake up in the morning and I'm wired, ready to go. I'm like, I'm out to get the dunya. This is it. This is my day. Get out there, get it. And sometimes we motivate ourselves, but that motivation is solely and solely for the dunya. I've never had that motivation that I wake up at 4 in the morning. Go on, get out there, get it. Go pray your Salatul Layl. Go and get the blessings of Allah. I've never seen anyone do that. We have so many Shia influencers, and that seems to be like the big thing now, right? Everyone wants to be a life coach or an influencer of some sort. Everyone's out there. Yeah, appreciate what you've got. Wake up early. Get your tasks ready. No one's out there going, wake up early, recite Salatul Layl. But there's more for you in that than anything else. Wake up before Fajr. Pray Fajr at the time that it is supposed to be while it's still dark. Don't wait till it starts to lighten. Yes, you'll become more productive for the dunya, but also for the akhirah. So we have to create this stillness within ourselves, and one way to create that stillness, and the most important way, is to have periods of silence where we're just alone with our thoughts and we can reach a point of clarity. The next thing that the Imam alayhi salam, he says, وَتَرْكِ الْجِدَالِ فِيمَا لَا يَعْنِيهِمْ, says, and tell them to avoid useless debates and discussions. So many hours are spent discussing the politics of another country that has no bearing on my life. It's just the country of my parents or where I was originally from. I'm not going to go back there. I'm not going to take part in politics. But in those 1 hour, 2 hour gatherings that we have, we solve all the issues of the Middle East. It's useless. Don't partake in useless debates. And right now, you have all these forums online on social media, and now the village idiot has a voice. Even he has an opinion about things that they have no knowledge about. In the same way that everyone's got an opinion on we wouldn't go out and give an opinion on nuclear physics. But the religion is free game. Everyone wants to go out and start discussing it. Oh yeah, but I read this. Okay, well, you read this. But did you learn this? Did you understand this? Were you taught this? Sometimes it's just a whole, a journey. It's a whole show of pride. We'll boil it down. I'm trying to convince this person of my point of view. What am I doing it for? To show off to everyone around, look how much this person knows. Something for us to think about. وَإِقْبَالِ بَعْضِهِمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ وَالْمُزَاوِرَةِ, and then tell them to do sila rahim, to have good ties with their family members, to go and visit each other's homes and to invite people to their homes, guests, mehman nawazi, to have people come over to go and visit other people. Right now in this society that we're in, it's become very individualistic. It's as far as my immediate family. Outside of that, I'm not concerned about anyone else. Sileh Rahim is that thing that extends the life of a person. We'll talk about that in the coming lectures as well. It extends the life. Qat' Rahim is that thing that cuts down the life of a person, reduces the life of a person. When you have good relations with your blood relatives, it increases the barakah in your life. It gives strength to an individual, increases their iman. And then outside of that, also with having guests from outside. Right now, we don't have this culture of inviting people home anymore. We're like, and especially now, COVID's definitely, put a nail in that coffin. But outside of COVID, COVID gave people a perfect excuse. But outside of that, we didn't want to have people over. Oh no, it's too much hassle. One of the wives of the Prophet, she would often complain to the Holy Prophet. And so, all of these companions, you keep on bringing them home, all these guests and stuff. Why? So the Holy Prophet said to her, look, next time I come in with a guest, tell me what you see. And he passes his hands over her eyes. The next day, the Holy Prophet comes in with the companion sits for a while and then leaves. So he says to her, tell me, what is it that you saw? She says, Ya Rasulullah, Ajib. When he came in, on his back was the mercy of Allah. The moment he stepped inside the house, it left him and began to permeate through every part of the house. And when he got up to leave, on his back were all the sorrows and difficulties and the bala within our home. The moment he stepped outside, they came off his back and they disappeared away from our home. Rasulullah says, this is why I love having guests. When we're hitting hard times, it seems counterintuitive. I'm going through a hard time, maybe financially or whatever, and to call people over to feed them or to host them. I think, no, I can't afford it. But no, that is one of the keys to opening that door again. You got difficulty in your life, you've got a problem. Feed people, invite guests over. Watch how those problems will leave you, and how the paths will open up to you. So then the Imam says to them, do sileh rahim, invite people over, go over, visit other people. Why? فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ قُرْبَةٌ إِلَيَّ. Says, because if you do this, it will bring you closer to me. It will bring you closer to us Ahlul Bayt. And by extension of that, closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولا يشغل أنفسهم بتمزيق بعضهم بعضا, and tell them to abstain from belittling one another, to making fun of one another. فإني آليت على نفسي أنه من فعل ذلك. For I swear on myself, whoever does this, I swear by my life, whosoever does this and angers one of the awliya, one of our mu'mineen, one of our friends, what will happen? I will pray to Allah, da'u to Allah, لِيُعَذِّبَهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا أَشَدَّ الْعَذَابِ, that he gives him the worst of adhab within the dunya, وَكَانَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ, and that within the akhirah he will be amongst the losers. Making fun of someone, belittling someone, Yawm al-Qiyamah, certain people will be raised up naked. When we look at the hadith as to what sin is it that they committed in this dunya, that they will be raised naked, humiliated in front of people, is that they would humiliate and make fun of people in this world. So now Allah is raising them naked to say all of existence is clothed. You are the one that is naked. Everyone's looking towards you, seeing, look at this person that is naked. Look at the sins that they committed. In another narration, it says an individual is being told, right, enter into heaven. So he makes his way forward. As he's about to enter, they slam the doors of heaven in his face. Falls back. Everyone starts laughing. And they say, oh, sorry, it was a mistake. Come. And then he goes forward and the angels slam the door again in his face and he falls. And again, they say, sorry, hand slipped or whatever. He comes again they slam this door in his face, again he falls, and this carries on happening until he says, what is this? Why is it that this keeps on happening? Say to him, well, in the dunya you belittled and made fun of people. What did you expect for us to do here in the akhirah with you? Imam al-Ridha says, anyone that makes fun of another Shia, another one of our friends, another one of our lovers, we'll pray that Allah gives them adhab in the dunya and makes them amongst the losers in the akhirah. In the society that we live in, I said to you that there are parallels that can be drawn between that time. Imam al-Ridha is raising it because it may well have been a major issue at his time. Right now, in the time that we live in the world of social media, in the world of memes, in the world of making clips and making fun of people. It's at the peak. Someone misspeaks and I'm there filming and I send it round. Someone falls asleep somewhere. I'm there taking a photo and sharing it around with everyone. Someone, is walking and I'm filming, they slip up. It's so funny, and I'm forwarding it around. And that person's asking me, don't do it. But I'm sharing it constantly. It's becoming viral, making fun of people, doing ghiba about people. All of these are adding up towards an adhab in the akhirah. It's bad akhlaq. The Imam says, abstain from that. And tell them God has accepted your good deeds and forgiven your bad. إِلَّا مَنْ أَشْرَكَ بِهِ, except for the one that has done shirk, that does shirk. Second point, in this time that we live in, amongst the followers of Ahlul Bayt, shirk is once again raising its head. In those that wear the garbs of the Zakireen or the ulama that sit on the manabir or stand on the podiums in forms of poetry, in forms of speeches. People are there graying, blurring the lines between the creator and the created. That shirk that is happening, we need to be aware. It was there at the time of Imam al-Ridha as well. We don't have time to go into the incidences of where the Imam is approached by people. Yeah? But needless to say that again, this is rearing its head. We as a community need to be aware. We need to be on it to protect our future generations. It says, whoever that individual that does shirk, Allah will not accept his actions, will not forgive his sins. And again, now watch, again the Imam is saying, and the one that troubles, causes issues for one of our awliya, for one of our friends from amongst our friends, for one of our Shias. Look at this constant reference back towards making fun of other Shias, making fun of other mu'mineen. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ لَهُ حَتَّى يَرْجِعَ عَنْهُ. Says, and Allah shall never forgive that person until the person abstains from it, turns away from that sin. And not just turns away from it. The addition of, I can commit a personal sin, I don't know, something like drinking alcohol. I can stop it, ask Allah for forgiveness, done. But when I make fun of someone, when I make fun of another believer, that sin lasts. That sin does not just get wiped away by me saying, I'm not going to do it again, Ya Allah, forgive me. No, I have to go to the person whom I belittled, whom I humiliated, whom I did ghibah about, and ask for their forgiveness, and only until they have forgiven me will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. فَإِنْ رَجَعَ, and if they turn back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ease it for them. But if they don't, فَإِنْ رَجَعَ, and if they do not turn away from that sin, the light of faith shall be removed from his heart, and he will be removed from our wilayah, from our love and our friendship. Look at this constant reference to belittling other people, to hurting the feelings of other mu'mineen. Imam at the last point, he's saying that if a person doesn't abstain from it, doesn't change their life, one thing we'll do is first take away the light of faith from their heart. We'll pull it from them and remove them from our wilayah. No matter how much they say, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, no, you're out and from our wilayah. No longer from amongst our friends, no longer from amongst our lovers. Why? Because of shirk, because of belittling other people, because of lying, all of these things. Says a person that abstains from it will receive the salvation of Ahlul Bayt. But a person who does not, the faith will be removed from his heart. He'll have no desire. One of the things they speak about the alim, that it doesn't act upon that which he knows, says that Allah will take away the love of munajat from his heart. That Allah will not give him the opportunity to do munajat, to pray to Allah. That love for dua and all of that will be taken away. That wilayah, that faith that we have is contingent, it's connected towards that love for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, is contingent upon the dua, the munajat, because Ahlul Bayt did that. I look at my life, can I say that I love dua? Or does Laylatul Qadr come around and I'm dreading it, saying, oh no, not another night of dua? I have to ask myself these questions. So this was hadith from Imam Ridha alayhi salam, that the Imam is talking to his Shias. And we pray that Allah gives us the tawfiq to be amongst the Shias as the Imam alayhi salam wanted his Shias to be like. All of these teachings that the Imam alayhi salam gave us, it caused this jealousy in the hearts of the enemies of the Imam. Namely Ma'mun, the individual who would then poison the Imam as a result of that jealousy. Calls Imam to Marif, modern day Turkmenistan. Imam is there alone, under the guise of making him the next in command after his death. But soon he makes the intention to kill the Imam. He calls the Imam over for food, and he poisons the food of the Imam. When the Imam was leaving his home, he told Aba Salt, his servant, that Aba Salt, if you see me coming back and my state is different to how it was when I left, oh Aba Salt, don't ask me anything, just take me inside and lock the doors behind me. Aba Salt says, I waited impatiently for my Imam to return. He says, a short while later I saw the Imam coming and falling, then he would stand and fall. The distance between the house of Imam Ridha and Ma'mun wasn't very long, wasn't very far, but they say the Imam fell some 50 3 times before reaching his home. Abba Salt says, I saw Imam al-Ridha come. He says, I took the Imam inside the home. Imam says, Abba Salt, lock the doors. We won't have any guests today. Abba Salt says, I realized that something had happened to the Imam. I locked the doors. The Imam went towards his room. I followed. He says, I saw the Imam begin to lift up the carpets from the ground, throw them aside. And then he says, I saw the Imam lay upon the cool earth of the floor of his room. يَتَمَلْمَلُ تَمَلْمُلَ السَّلِيمِ. The Imam was writhing, turning from one side to another, turning on this side, then over onto the other side, as the poison began to take effect, began to burn him from the inside. Abba Salt says, I looked at my master suffering. I realized that my Imam was whispering something. I went close to the Imam. What is it that my Imam is saying? He says, I concentrated and realized that he was calling out. He was saying, oh my son Jawad, come quickly, come quickly. Abba Salt says Imam al-Jawad came a short while later towards Imam al-Ridha. Ya Imam al-Ridha, how lucky you were that at the time of your death you called your son and your son was able to come and help you. Oh Imam al-Ridha, come to Karbala. Look at your grandfather Abu Abdullah. He's fallen to the ground. Even if he wanted to call his son, who would he call? Ali Akbar? No, Ali Akbar's body lies mutilated on the ground. Were he to call Sajjad, Sajjad is unconscious in the tent. Imam al-Jawad sits by his father, Imam al-Ridha, struggling under the difficulty of the poison within his body. Imam al-Jawad crying. Soon Imam al-Ridha passes on the covenant of Imamate to Imam al-Jawad, and his soul leaves his body. Imam al-Jawad gives his father ghusl. He gives his father kafan. He recites the Salat al-Mayyit over the body of his father. Imam al-Jawad then he himself goes and lowers the body of Imam al-Ridha into the grave. Oh Imam al-Jawad, how lucky you were that you were able to bury your father. You were able to give him ghusl. You were able to give him kafan. You recited his Salat al-Mayyit. But oh Imam al-Jawad, how lucky you were that you were able to lift the body of your father and place him inside the grave. But come and look at Sajjad, who is unable to give ghusl. He is unable to give kafan. He is unable to recite Salat al-Mayyit. And when he returns to come and bury the body of his father Abu Abdullah, his body is in not a state that it can be lifted in one piece. Instead, Madloom Sajjad turns towards Bani Asad and says, oh Bani Asad, is there a cloth that you can give me so that I can gather the parts of the body of my father Abu Abdullah? ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. All of those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad from all types of illness and bala. Oh Allah, give us the tawfiq to be able to go on the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah and Imam al-Ridha and all the other A'imma this year and every year. Ya Allah, keep safe our ulama and our maraja and keep them at the head of our institutions. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhirin, his true waiters for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you have brought on this night, please recite your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله،